Totally Football Show European edition. Today, Barcelona lose in worst refereeing video decision since the one we all saw on Monday that wasn't supposed to go any further. Bundesliga, a big weekend for FC Bayern. Italy, a tighter than ever table. And the sack of Rome again. Are Ten Hag and Graham Potter really in line to take over? Ligue 1, OM, Auxerre, Auxerre, and why PSG are piss poor in Europe. And so much more in this Totally Football Show. Tuesday the 12th of November. Woohoo! Everybody, we've got a very, very exciting European edition of the Totally Football Show for you today. It's got James Horncastle, as you'd expect. Hi, James.
Hi.
Sir James, nice to see you.
Nice to see you too, Sir James.
Julien Laurens.
Bonjour, Sir James.
You've been busy much, Jules, have you?
Yeah, always, trying to feed the children.
Good.
Yeah.
Just generally.
Not
you know,
the
my own
world.
children.
Feed the world. Make it
I
a
would
better
like
place.
to feed more than my 3, but 3 is enough for me.
Jules, I was coming back from Milan and I saw in the airport there are all these posters or adverts for France.
Oh, yeah?
Which is like famous French people, like come to France.
Who have they got?
Well, I'd never heard of some of these people.
Really?
I mean, they were like, I love food, but some were chefs. I'd never heard of them. Okay. But I was just like, when
Chef
is the
Boyard.
day going to arrive? When's the day going to arrive when Jules is on one of these? Because surely Jules is one of the most famous French people.
But then,
but I don't know if you're famous in France, because you've given so much to the rest of the world.
No, because I've got this French radio show that's very popular on RMC.
Yeah, because
This is very popular.
when we bumped
it
into
is.
Chouameni's dad in Munich,
Yeah.
he had never seen Jules before, I don't think, but he
No.
recognized the voice.
Yeah.
Did you recognise the
That's
voice?
Chouameni's dad for you. Here you
30.
go. Fernand. Yeah, Fernand.
Right.
That was amazing.
So I introduced Horny and my oldest one, Rafa, and his friend Blake, who were also with us in Germany
Right.
for the Euros.
Yep.
And Ferdy was just like super happy, chatting to everyone. Yeah, so no, I think I am famous.
It was
too.
actually quite funny because he said to Jules, this was before the semi-final, France against Spain. Sorry, it's just a tangent. He said, the camp, they feel so good about this. They're really confident. Whereas before the Portugal game, in the round
not so
before,
much,
they were like
in
not
the
confident.
quarterfinal.
And they obviously went through against Portugal and lost to Spain. So it really doesn't matter how
How you feel?
the mood in the group, the camp
That's
is.
interesting. And it
Yeah.
brings it onto football.
It does,
Nicely.
Yeah.
I like it. We've also got Ballús and Seb Stafford Bloor on the way, talking up some Liga and Bundesliga. And probably giving us a moment of the week if we remember to ask them. Jules, have you got a moment of the week?
Yes, I do, James. Because so many things have happened in France in the last few days, on and off the pitch.
Oh, yeah.
So I think I will keep the Zerbi drama and Marseille drama for a bit later to go a bit more deep in it. Same with Jorge Sampaoli coming back to France with Rennes. So I'll go for my moment of the weekend as the Rhône derby between Lyon and Saint-Etienne.
Oui.
On Sunday night, even without any away fans, it was still very spectacular. The atmosphere, the highest attendance ever for the derby. Lyon won, and Lyon had a better team. Although Saint-Etienne, I thought, played well and could have snatched a point late. And Alexandre Lacazette, 33-year-old, for his first derby in the new stadium, because obviously he left in 2017 for Arsenal before he was before playing the derby there. And like he revealed after the game, probably his last one as well, because I think he's out of contract in June and he will leave the club. So it was fitting that him, the general as they call him, born and bred in Lyon, obviously, such a lovely guy, in front of the show. Obviously, Alexander.
Is he a friend of the show?
Yeah, he's one of my bros, you know. So
Okay.
I was
A
very
friend
happy.
of yours? Is he a friend of this show?
Well, via me, basically,
Oh, okay.
you know.
All
Yeah,
right.
and
Quite an
very happy
extended
for him. Yeah,
Jules
it's okay.
family.
We're all the same family here.
Right.
Very happy for him to score that winner.
Well, I am too now.
I'll tell him.
2 degrees of Julien Laurens. James Horncastle, your moment of the week / weekend.
Moise Ken,
Oh, yeah.
because Moise scored a hat-trick. Fiorentina briefly went top, as did Atalanta on Sunday.
So tight.
He's so tight. That's
So
great.
tight. Only 2 points between the top 6.
Yeah, and you know what else? Only 2 points between the bottom 6 as well.
Oof. Okay.
It's the best league for that this season
For
so far.
tightness.
Yeah. Cacho is back, I would say. You know?
Well,
Tight at both ends.
tight at both ends.
Oh my god.
Anyway,
What?
Moise, who I interviewed last week,
Oh, yeah.
and it will be coming out this week.
Okay.
is having quite the year. He's in double figures already this season. I think he's got 13 goals for club and country. He's joined up with the national team again. He scored when Italy played Israel in September, and then he had a bad back in October. But he's doesn't have a bad back anymore because he keeps scoring. He scored.
Should have 4 in this game.
Yeah, and I think he scored 6 in his last 3 games. But he could have had more, as you say, in this game against Verona. But he also could have had a hat-trick against Roma because he should be taking penalties for Fiorentina. And instead he was like, my guy, Lucas Beltran, he's still goalless. I feel really sorry for him. Here, take the penalty. Shows how mature
So much
young
maturity.
Moyes is. He's 24.
It's his best season in terms of goal scoring
Already?
outside of PSG. This is, I think, the most goals he had outside of PSG and Liga was 8 maybe before that. So already beating his best. So it's really good.
Moisey Keane, like a lot of West Ham fans right now. We'll get some more moments of the weekend later on. But I would like to mention this from The Carpet AFC, who says, moment of the week contender, boys. You sent this to your account on the formerly popular social media platform X/Twitter.
No, it's still popular.
It's
just not popular here, I imagine. I don't know.
Yeah. Well, no, it's down all over, I believe.
Is it?
Yeah.
Right.
Anyway.
Are you on Truth Social?
Should we join you there?
The magic of Serie A, a Triestina player. I don't know why I sent it to you, actually, Jules.
I don't know.
Yeah. Oh, because it's Pep Clotet.
Oh, yeah, Pep Clotet. Yeah,
Pep Clotet. Who is Pep Clotet? So basically, he's manager of Triestina. Triestina player gets sent off, and his manager, says the Carpet AFC, Pep Clotet, shows him how he feels by going over to him, grabbing him by the shirt and vigorously shaking him backwards. He looked like he was going to headbutt him.
More than that. Pep Clotet, who managed in La Liga, for Celta Vigo, in England here with Birmingham, I think it was. And so he had big clubs. Now Serie, the third division in Italy doesn't seem that big compared to maybe the clubs before. But yeah, that was weird.
But, I mean, there are a staggering number of Peps in jobs. Do you reckon if
this
you
is
were
an
called,
actual Pep? This is not.
I know, but like, do you reckon there's the Pep halo effect here? Like, do you reckon if you were called Pep Richardson, you would be working in football?
Yeah, I mean, when you look, I'm bored.
Yeah,
got a beard.
Speak some Catalan with Paul
Some
Ballús.
Catalan, or probably get by in Dutch.
Yeah, but
bit of both. You'll have
Clotet. His first job in Italy came with Cellino at Brescia.
Really,
where there was a really funny thing that happened a few years ago where I don't know whether he was suspended or not, but there was this photo of Cellino on the sidelines for Brescia looking like the coach and Pep Clotet in the stands looking like the owner. But Triestina have one of the best jerseys in football at the moment. I mean, not just generally their colours are great and their stem crest is great, but it's one of those Kappa creations which was designed by the guy who was responsible for all those great Venezia kits over the last few years until Venezia decided to sell out and allow Drake to design their kits really badly. But yeah, I mean, this incident, it was not as bad as Delio Rossi pummeling Adam Ljajic. Actually pummeling the crap out of the young.
Was that on European Football Show? Was that on?
I think
EFS?
it was. Yeah. It was a while back. What was that show?
Yeah, great show. If you remember.
All right. Well,
the streets will remember. The streets will not forget.
We've rambled on for a fair while. Let's get into some proper reportage. On first off, hey, it's Serie A. Serie A, everybody. Got to tell you, it's the tightest ever been at the top since they brought in 3 points for a win.
No way.
Yeah. Top 6 is Napoli, who are a point clear of Atalanta, Fiorentina, Inter, Lazio, and Juventus. Juve are a point behind the rest. I think I've got that right. Anyway, the whole bunch of 6 are just 2 points apart. And as mentioned before, Como, Cagliari, Genoa, Lecce, Monza, and Venezia. The bottom 6 are all just 2 points apart as well. Big game Sunday night, James, was Inter against Napoli at San Siro. Did it live up to the pre-match billing?
Did it live up to the pre-match billing? I think it wasn't as exciting as some of the other big games that we've had so far in Serie A, like the Derby d'Italia, of course, which finished 4-4. And Inter, I still think that Inter are the best team in the league when it comes to, let's say, putting together 15, 20 minutes of just unmatchable football. But they keep giving goals away. They're unable to see off opponents. And so, they concede from a set play. McTominay, again, could have scored. I mean, this could have been his second goal at San Siro, considering how he had a really good chance when they played Milan there. And then I felt Inter played well enough to win the game. And
a worldie from Çalhanoğlu to equalise.
Yeah, and
although I felt Alex Meret could have maybe done better.
Really?
That's just me.
I think the way that it shifted.
I know, but
I think,
still.
And the thing is, like, Chala, when he made his name back on the European Football Show, when that was on BT Sport.
Don't look for it, it's not there anymore.
Incredible trajectory on that free kick he scored for Hamburg against Dortmund.
Yeah.
But he doesn't really score a lot of goals like that anymore. What you associate him with is being infallible from the penalty spot, as he was against Arsenal.
But ironically, James...
Not this time. But, I mean, he hit it almost too well.
Yeah, too well. I agree.
Do you think?
Yeah.
Yeah, because it careened off
perfect.
the post so hard that it felt like it was going out of San Siro into one of those car parks that the ultras were trying to run and got arrested for. I mean, again, there was a lot of regret after the game from kind of Simone Inzaghi, because in the big games this year, they've had the chances to win and put their opponents away, and they haven't. As we saw in the Derby d'Italia, they were 4-2 up, should have been 5-6-2 up, should have won that game. And then in this game, I think Lukaku was completely anonymous. Like, Lukaku, if he plays against some of the league's best centre-backs this year, be it Bremer, be it Buongiorno in this case, anonymous. And so I think Inter should have won. Inzaghi's become quite, not plucky, but like, that's the wrong word. He really kind of hits back at some of the criticism that his team is getting. He's like, oh, sorry, we've only won 8 of the last 10 games. We should have won 10, shouldn't we? You're right. You're absolutely right.
Fair enough, Simone. Although he did rest key players for this game. He rested them against Arsenal, particularly for this game. So perhaps disappointed with a 1-1 draw. It leaves Napoli a point ahead of them, and Napoli with that massive advantage being the only one of those top 6 sides that doesn't have European commitments. But the way the others are flying, will that be the difference?
I mean, the main talking point after this game was a literal talking point, because it was Antonio Conte talking and talking and talking about the penalty that was given against them. Right. And he doesn't seem to understand when the video assistant referee can intervene and when he can't. But that didn't stop him going on a rant for about 8 minutes, in which he repeated and repeated and repeated the line, "Ma che cosa significa?" Like, what does it mean? What does it mean? To the point this has already become a meme in Italy. Right. I mean,
it was a soft pen.
I suppose you could apply it to the David Coote video as well. Like, "Ma che cosa significa?" Well, I mean, what does it mean? Like, what's going on here? But it was very interesting what Conte, I think, was doing in this video, because he was trying to put on message that there is this perception Inter get decisions. His old club get decisions. And, you see it on social media. It often trends this thing that there is the Marotta League. Marotta being the old general manager who's now the president of Inter, who kind of sits on the board of the Italian Football Federation and Serie A. No insinuation here.
He was also at Juventus when they were Serie A winners of the league.
He's not some grand puppet master, but I think Conte is doing this thing where he's like he wants to raise people's attention, like, to the fact that Inter are the power in Italian football at the moment,
establishment,
and have been for the last 4 years. And if you want to knock them down, you have to kind of basically put on message.
That's right, because Inter won the title like 2 seasons ago, didn't they? Oh no, that was Napoli.
Exactly. Anyway, no, you're absolutely right. But I mean, Conte was saying, like, I don't want to have retropensieri about this, which is like, like things in the back of your mind,
Right.
which would make you like, oh, what's really behind this?
Dietrologia.
Exactly.
One of the great Italian
Behindology.
Behindology. Lovely stuff. Well, there you go. 1-1 at San Siro between Inter and Napoli. Elsewhere, there were wins for Atalanta and Fiorentina, as you were mentioning. Lazio keeping up the pace. We don't talk about them probably enough. And Zaccagni with another great goal. Juventus, big game for them. Big fixture anyway. Derby della Mole against Torino with Timothy Weah and that man Yildiz again on the score sheet with a 2-0 victory.
Yildiz scoring on Del Piero's 50th birthday.
Right.
And then doing the famous linguaccia, the tongue-out celebration, and dedicating it to Del Piero as well.
There you go. Nice. Not in that leading group of 6, of course, Milan, who got caught up in a crazy game over in Sardinia. 3-3 against Cagliari. A couple of amazing goals here. One in particular from Gabriele Zappa.
Yeah.
Who's a fullback for Cagliari.
Yeah, who came through at Inter but was a Milan fan. I think these were his first 2 goals in top-flight football, or he'd matched what he'd scored throughout the rest of his career. But yeah, brilliant goal. And the thing is, Cagliari could have scored more in this game, and that's the worrying thing, is that I seem to remember Cagliari having a couple of goals disallowed, and one was very marginal. And it goes to show, I think, a couple of things. One is that Milan, they don't have continuity in the league. They seem to be very good when their opponents are the ones that take the initiative and have most of the ball. And when Milan then can counter on them, they seem to excel. We saw something like that at the Bernabeu. We saw something like that in the Milan derby as well, which they won. So they're winning these big games, and then they're dropping points against the likes of Parma, Cagliari. You can even say the game away at Fiorentina, which, considering how well Fiorentina have been playing, isn't a bad. Is not necessarily unexpected, but at the same time, for a team that wants to be contending for the title, you're seeing the limitations of it.
In the meantime, one bit of good news is that Paulo Fonseca appears to have won his kind of personal battle with Leao and, to an extent, Theo Hernandez, because Leao, who's now back in the side, is in some of the best form we've seen from him for the Rossoneri. A brace in this game and a fantastic performance away at the Bernabeu last week. Yeah,
Leao, who, you could say it's been excellent man management from Fonseca to drop Leao continuously until he perhaps has got the message that he needs to track back and do more work off the ball when his team is defending. Or you could just say Leao's always had these numbers. And this is just what he does when he's on it.
When he's on it.
And he's on it more often than I think people give him credit for. The other thing that came out after the game in Sardinia was that he'd become a father of of 2 twins.
Oh,
Father of twins.
Two twins. Yeah,
that would be a lot. Quadruplets. And maybe you don't know. Maybe that's been on his mind.
Maybe it's been on his
mind. Few weeks. So, but Theo got some flack after the Cagliari game because I think earlier in the season we were talking about how they concede the same goal, kind of cross from the right to the left, and people were picking on Theo for not staying with his man or not doing more defending. It would help if they didn't have Emerson Royale on the other side. It'd help if Emerson Royale was there to stop a cross every now and again, but no. So there you go.
While we wait to read your Moise Kean interview, James, there's a terrific interview with Alvaro Morata out right now on the Athletic that you did.
Yeah, I'm on a streak at the moment where I interviewed Weah, he scored.
Right.
Nice.
Interviewed Morata, goal at the Bernabeu.
Yeah.
Interviewed Moise, first hat-trick of his career. So strikers, if you want to talk to someone...
Could you interview
talk
Kylian
to
Mbappe?
me.
Can you please go and see Kylian and sort out this?
Well,
I mean, he's not doing anything this international break, is he?
He's playing PlayStation at Ashraf Hakimi's house in Paris.
Is that right?
Yeah.
Is that right? Before we leave Serie A, decline and fall time, Roma beaten 3-2 by Bologna. That's their fourth defeat in 5 Serie A matches. And Ivan Juric was sacked straight after. James, you've got a direct line to the Roma hierarchy. Technical director saying, yeah, maybe it was a mistake to get rid of De Rossi in hindsight.
Technical director who doesn't speak a word of Italian.
No. Answers in French.
Who, I think has got the job on the basis of this halo effect that he worked for Sir Jim Ratcliffe, Ineos, and Nice, and that's supposed to be a club that has all this great process and all this sort of thing. The guy signed Enzo Lefebvre on the basis that he used to be his assistant coach at Lorient. The guy's always injured.
He's a good player, though.
He's a good player. He's a very silky player, but as is Paulo Dybala when he's fit.
Right.
Yeah.
The big question, the big question for Roma is who's going to take over now?
Well, I mean, this has been the latest of a long list of criticisms against the Friedkins who are in the process of buying Everton. Is that there's no direction at the club. There isn't there is a sporting director there, but as I said, he doesn't appear to be. How should I put this?
Have much power?
Well, no, I think he does have power, but he keeps hiring these guys who are in their early 30s, which I've got no problem against people in their early 30s, but are they qualified to come and work in Serie A for one of the biggest clubs in the world, in Italy? I don't think they are. The Friedkins have always lent on consultancies, always lent on agencies to do their hiring for them. I would say that a lot of these consultancies have never stepped foot in Rome, don't understand Rome, don't understand the Italian football context.
What do they need to understand about Rome, James, that makes it different to any other club?
Rome is, in terms of a football ecosystem, it's extremely noisy in that there are all these radio stations, newspapers that only talk about Roma, and everything is microanalyzed, scrutinized, and frankly, comparisons with, let's say, English football clubs or English football fans, there is no comparison because I think English football fans are very meek compared to their Italian counterparts. If there's something that goes wrong at a club in England, you're not going to have fans coming to the school of your kids threatening them, which you wouldn't wish on anyone. You're not going to have ultras turning up outside of the training ground and stopping the cars of your senior players to say you're the problem here.
Throwing fish.
We've got rid of 4 managers. You're still here. It's essentially down to you. You don't have fans in England walking out after 15 minutes of a game in protest or not coming to the game in protest. The Friedkins have brought in this English psychologist to work with the players. I'm sure this psychologist is very qualified. Apparently, he speaks Italian, which is a benefit. But it is a very, very specific microculture in Rome that I think unless you're Roman or extremely well versed in it, you've got no chance.
It's a perfect project for Frank Lampard then.
So Lampard's name had been mentioned quite a bit last week.
How?
The names, for example, this morning's Gazzetta is talking about Roberto Mancini, which would be interesting given his past on the other side of town at Lazio. About Rudi Garcia, which is extraordinary given... he was at Roma before, but he's just had a total crash and burn of an experience at Napoli, Montella, but also now Ten Hag and Graham Potter.
They're all very similar, aren't they? Or not? But look, this ultimately comes. But you have all of these consultancies.
None of these
agencies.
people are called Pep. What?
Yeah, they should be getting Pep Genesio.
Pep Genesio.
No, I think they need an Italian. They need someone who knows the club, the league.
Don Claudio,
who I don't think would take it on the basis that, he would look at the owners and be like, what is going on here? What have you done to my son, Daniele De Rossi? But I think, Mancini in the past has said, why would I limit myself to the clubs that I played for? I think it's a very provincial, small-minded way of looking at things, that I would only coach Lazio if I was to work in Rome. These attitudes are holding Italian football back. I'm a professional. I'd work for Roma. So I don't think that would be an issue. I think the problem there is he would probably want the parity that Jose Mourinho had when he was earning, 7 million a year net, which made him the highest paid coach in the league. So that's an issue. And then all those names that you've listed, it's because the owners are dependent on these consultancies. They would prefer to have someone who speaks English to them, or French, because they do speak French. Yeah. But I think it just shows that they're out of touch with the local context. And that really matters in Rome. It matters even at AC Milan or big clubs in Italy. You have to be in sync with how the fans and how the media think. Otherwise, it gets on top of you, it overwhelms you, and you've got no chance. And if it's Graham Potter, if it's Frank Lampard, good luck to them.
Very good. That's probably enough Italian football, eh?
I could do an entire podcast on Roma.
Yeah. Next up, let's hear about La Liga. It's Paul Ballús.
And here's a Paul you can trust.
Hey. Always. Oh, Paul didn't have his headphones in for that, James.
Oh, well.
No.
Anyway, hello. ¿Qué tal, Paul?
¿Qué tal? ¿Cómo estamos? How are you?
Pretty good. Busy weekend for you? Busy weekend?
Yeah, quite busy. Quite busy. I mean, not the busiest, but it was okay.
Okay, let's get a moment of the weekend from you, if we may.
Yeah, let's go. It tends to happen to me that I end up with 2 moments of the week. Possibly like the first one was just like the feast of the easy penalties conceded this week, because after Aston Villa, what we saw in the Champions League, we saw just a similar thing with Sevilla in the game against Leganés and Sevilla, just the silliest penalty that we've seen in La Liga, with Lucien Agumé just grabbing his opponent when just there was no need to do that. So that was the first one. And then the second one was possibly watching the Rayo Vallecano Las Palmas game, which ended up in a Las Palmas win 3-1. Rayo Vallecano shot 34 times and scored once in a time that wasn't even a shot, because it was an own goal from Scott McKenna. So it was just pretty impressive to see a side shooting 34 times just for nothing, and losing a game that was quite important for them.
Well, indeed. But Las Palmas are the form team in La Liga right now. A month ago, they were, I don't know if they were bottom, but they were certainly without a win, looked set to drop. Since Diego Martinez has taken charge, no one in La Liga has taken more points.
Exactly. I think it's 3 wins and 1 loss against Atletico de Madrid, if I'm not wrong. Mm-hmm. And a great record. All the informed players are ticking, and they have gained this defensive structure that is giving them the edge right now.
Okay. Oli McBurney not featuring so much anymore, though.
No. He seems like quite low in the pecking order. Scott McKenna is, though. He's like one of the starting centre backs. But Oli McBurney, I don't think that the future is looking brighter for him.
So McKenna and McBurney. So McKenna's the Big Mac right now. Like, is there
exactly?
Do they have nicknames in Spain, like El Mac?
I don't think so. No, El Mac, no, El Maco. No.
Okay.
No, that's not the case.
Las Palmas moving up to 16th now in the table, excitingly. Up at the other end, Barcelona very much still top, but their winning streak came to a conclusion this weekend when they lost a 1-0 away to Real Sociedad. Officially, it's the first time in over 10 years, and this is in a real contrast to Sevilla, that they failed to have even a single shot on target in a Liga fixture. As I say, the record showed that they failed to do in this game against Real Sociedad. However, that rather ignores the kind of key moment of the game, which was what would have been the Lewandowski equaliser, which was disallowed for one of the truly bizarre VAR decisions.
Yeah, that was one of the strangest decisions that we've seen this season in La Liga. I mean, let's just start by the fact that I think that Barcelona lost that game in a deserved way, that Real Sociedad were the better team in that game, and that they were in a position to score more goals. But yeah, I think that Flick has a point when he said after the game that if that goal from Lewandowski hadn't been disallowed, that would have been like a completely different game. I think it would have been because it was in the minute 13, if I'm not wrong. The game was still goalless. And yeah, Lewandowski scored this goal that if you look at the TV footage, basically, you can see or you tend to see like Nayef Aguerd's foot well ahead of Lewandowski. But then with the VAR technology, La Liga from this season, they have the semi-automated offside system. They don't have the goal line technology. They don't have other tools, but they do have this. But yeah, it seems...
And apparently the computer mistook the defender's foot for Lewandowski's because you can see on the other side of that line, there's a little bit of a foot sticking out, and about half a metre back is the rest of Lewandowski's foot. So it's a curious one.
It's a proper glitch, though, isn't it?
Yeah.
Like you have sometimes in video games.
How much was the absence of Lamine Yamal the reason for Barcelona's sudden drop in performance in this game, apart from the VAR decision?
It has a lot to do, in my opinion. Lamine Yamal might not be the striker with the biggest numbers in terms of goals and assists, but I think he's the most influential in how Barcelona plays because he's a focal point in attack. Just all the creating power that he has in all senses. It's just a lot for Barcelona. And as a stat, the 2 games that Barcelona has lost in La Liga are the only 2 games that Lamine Yamal has not started this season. So that tells you a lot about how key this teenager is right now for Barcelona. And we don't really know when he's going to be back because he's injured right now. And Barcelona said that he's going to be injured for the next 2 or 3 weeks. So let's see when he comes back.
No shot on target for Barcelona for the first time in 10 years in that game.
I think that stat was a bit like misinterpreted because I think that Marcus Rojo had a shot in target, but it was deflected quite soon.
You can have a high XG even with no shot on target because you can still be in a good position. It's just that you blast the ball over the bar when you could do better. So it's not always reflective of how well or not you did.
So true, but it was quite a striking statistic.
It is still
I guess why it's been repeated so much. Other significant numbers are perhaps the 6 points that now stands between Barcelona and Real Madrid, who did win their game 4-0 against Osasuna. Real Madrid have a game in hand, so were they to win that against Valencia, of course, then they would be right on Barcelona's coattails. 3 goals for Vinicius Jr. in this 4-0 win over Osasuna. The other one coming from Jude Bellingham. Was there a shift in Ancelotti's approach for this and the way he was using Bellingham in this game, Paul?
It was, but at the end, I mean, it sort of meant nothing because in the first half, he got 3 big players injured. Eder Militao basically tore his knee. He's going to miss the rest of the season, and he's going to be more than a year off the pitch because he tore his ACL and both meniscus in his right knee. And then Lucas Vázquez and Rodrigo felt injured as well. So at the end of the day, Real Madrid had to play with what they had. I think that Jude Bellingham had possibly a different role. I think that despite he hadn't been scoring this season, he hadn't been playing that bad. He was still putting all the effort. I think that Jude Bellingham was in decent form, but he wasn't getting in this goal-scoring position because right now they have Vinicius and Mbappe and Rodrigo, and now Brahim possibly is going to play more. So yeah, let's see how it goes. But this Real Madrid win, I don't think that it left Real Madrid fans pleased because for the long term, these 3 absences, these 3 injured players are going to have a huge impact into the season for sure. Let's see what they do in the winter transfer window because it seems pretty obvious that Real Madrid has to go and sign someone in defense and in midfield. But there's people here close to Madrid media and those people who, when you read them, you know that they have opinions who are like close to the executive side of the club. Could say that Madrid are not that bothered to sign in a rush and that they might wait until the end of the season and sign, I don't know, Trent Alexander-Arnold if they can on a free transfer and just wait for the sensible business. I don't know if they can afford to wait for that.
I see. Can they afford to wait for Kylian Mbappe to score a goal? It's now 4 matches without him finding the net. He's been dropped by France. Is that a fair way of putting it, Jules?
No.
Was it his decision?
True. No, he wanted to go. I think Deschamps said that he was probably better for. He said it was better for everyone if he wasn't there.
So how's that different to him dropping him?
Because dropping sounds like you're not good enough, so I'm not picking you because instead of you, I picked Colomwani.
Right.
Which is not.
But the reason that he didn't call him up is.
he hasn't really explained more than just it's better for everyone if he's not here. So
Right.
we don't know. We don't really know actually why. I mean, maybe you're right. Maybe he dropped him because he doesn't think he's good enough. But
Well,
he's still better than Colomwani and the other strikers that are in the squad right now for France.
Okay.
It's like with Honigstein, yeah. It's better for everyone that he's not here.
Yeah, but you didn't drop him, did you?
Never. What's going on with Kylian Mbappe, Jules?
I don't know. I mean, at the start of the season, he had a period where he didn't score either for 3 or 4 games in between the Super Cup against Atalanta and then the start of the season. And then finally, it came good. I don't know. I thought he looked okay, Paul, on Saturday.
Yeah.
You could see that he tried to play as this number 9 that has to bring Bellingham into the game and Vinicius into the game, which is not really his game and his style. But he misses chances. And this is really, when you look at the stats, is that when he has a chance, and he had one against Milan, or 2 against Milan, with good running behind, then that efficiency that he used to have before in France is just not there right now. And I think it's probably a confidence thing. I think he's a little bit down.
Also in the Classico, he just kept getting caught offside now by the...
Yeah, those 8 offside, I think I've
messed with his head.
Yeah, and stained a little bit what he's done before, because he's got 8 goals in 15. It's not that bad on paper, but it's just not happening for him. And I think because he's probably thinking about it, overthinking it all, when that chance comes, one-on-one with the keeper, for example, it's just not as fluent as he used to be.
You're right, the numbers are not that bad, but it's the fact that in the key games, the Champions League clash with Milan, the Classico, he hasn't performed. He's been conspicuously not doing it. What's the mood kind of surrounding the club like about Mbappe? What's the kind of... Is there any kind of sense of dissatisfaction building among the fans, Paul?
I think there might be, in the sense that he's not winning the narrative battle in terms of who is the main guy in this Real Madrid attack. I think that if you ask Madrid fans at this point, they are going to all go towards Vinicius Jr. He is the main guy, the one that has delivered for Madrid in a more consistent way for several seasons. I think that what you were saying here, that in big games, Mbappe hasn't delivered possibly as they were expecting to. That has taken a toll as well. And I think that Mbappe is also impacted by the fact that he doesn't have like a defined role here. Possibly his best role would be to play in Vinicius' position, but he's not going to take that. So he has to adapt as a number 9, but he's not a number 9. Then he would do a better favor for Real Madrid playing possibly as a right winger, but he's not a right winger either. So he has to find his new life here while the team is struggling, the team is not playing well. Ancelotti still fighting to find this structure in the team. And yeah, there's a lot of problems or issues piling up. While he's in the middle of it, he's the biggest earner in the squad. There's a lot of noise around him, so the pressure is bigger. And yeah, that's at the end, that's what it takes to play for Real Madrid and to be in the middle of this a star-assembled squad that the Blancos are at the minute.
Cross town, Atletico Madrid 1-0 winners in Mallorca. What a goal!
What a goal! What a good goal! Atletico Madrid. I mean, things don't change a lot because they are not playing great. They are playing quite bad, but they have Jan Oblak in the form of not of his life, but in the best form over the last 2 or 3 seasons for sure. And then they have Giuliano Simeone, who again made the difference. I think that when the team is not playing well, the sort of effort and the values and the cholismo that the Cholo Simeone son put in that game just made the difference. Because I don't know if you saw the goal, but it was just a long ball.
So it's a throw from Oblak, and then Simeone Jr. gets on it and could have scored himself, but it's Julian Alvarez who takes the chance in the end.
Yeah, but that's quite a good example of the cholismo, of this sort of, I'm going to give everything for the sake of the team. My ego is not above anything, so he does everything, and then he just gives the ball to Julian Alvarez, who is the star of the team, just to score and just to build his confidence and everything, because he knows that it's the best for the team. So that's pure Atletico de Madrid, and that's why he is playing at the minute. He's possibly not the most gifted player in a technical side of the game, but the sort of effort and will that he puts is something that Atletico de Madrid really needs when they don't manage to play like Simeone would love to.
All right, Atletico Madrid are currently a point behind Real, who, as we mentioned, though, do have a game in hand. Excellent. Paul, anything else we should know about La Liga ahead of the international break?
I think that we're fine for now. Just keep an eye on the game week after the international break because there's a Basque derby, which is going to be great. Real Sociedad against Atletico de Bilbao against Real Sociedad. Sorry, they are going to play in San Mamés, so that's going to be a heated one.
Woof. All right. Enjoy your international break, Paul. We'll catch up with you on the other side.
I will try to. Thank you very much.
Thanks, Paul. Paul Ballús. By the way, Jules, what's the reaction been like in France to France's biggest star not being called up for this international break?
Well, I think there was a bit of a surprise because we were briefed the night before, like we always are, on who would make it. So we kind of knew that Lucas Chevalier, for example, the very promising Lille goalkeeper, was going to be in it in replacement of Alphonse Areola, who's lost his place at West Ham. And we often are told what's going to happen in the squad the next day, so we kind of prepare and we know. And Kylian was in that squad. The morning of the announcement by Deschamps, which was at 2 p.m. French time, he was still in the squad. Then there was a few phone calls. And clearly, just before Deschamps announced it, he decided not to pick him anymore. So he called Kylian and said, actually, I think it's better if you don't come this time. And then Deschamps refused to explain the reason really why, or the reasoning or the thinking behind it, and just said, this is what I'm going to say to you. It's better if he's not here, but he wanted to come. It's my decision. Is it because he thinks he wasn't good enough? And some people in France are even saying that because kind of Kylian screwed him a little bit in October, international break, when Kylian said, I'm injured, don't call me. He doesn't call him, and then Kylian plays 3 days later with Real Madrid in the league and looks fit and ready. That kind of Deschamps tried to punish him retrospectively for what happened, which I don't believe, and I was told is not true. But hey, we just don't know because he hasn't explained it.
Wow.
Just more drama, as if we needed more drama, but there seems to be always drama around.
Always
Kylian.
drama. Yeah. Liga, everybody. Let's get into that next. Woo, loads to talk about in France and beyond, Jules, to be fair. With those French teams in Europe, Monaco and Brest, 3rd and 4th in the Champions League right now. And PSG right by... Oh, no, actually. We're down in 25th place.
25th.
They're not even in the playoff spots.
There's no need to get too many points at the start. It's better to leave it late.
The fixtures coming up are easy.
A bit of suspense. City, you go to Bayern Munich.
To be honest, City is an easy game at the moment.
Milan as well,
everybody beats.
Have they got Milan as well?
No,
they play Juve.
Juve.
No, Salzburg and Stuttgart are the other two. So we're Bayern,
right,
straight after the international break. Then there will be City at home and Salzburg and Stuttgart all in between.
Okay.
But yeah, I mean, the game against Atletico Madrid, where they create so many chances, especially in the second half, was much better than the first half even. Just can't score, and you just literally, I was like tearing my hair. And then I was at the BBC for the highlight show there, and everybody was saying, Atletico is going to score last kick of the game. That. And they keep saying it after like an hour play, 65th minute, 79th, like, just shut up, please. It's not going to happen. And obviously, inevitably, it happened.
It happened. Yeah. Well, they beat Angers this weekend, and well done. 4-2. It actually wasn't as close as that scoreline makes it sound, because I think it was 4-0 going into the 90th minute, then bizarrely. No, 3-0, I think, going into the 90th minute.
No, 4. It was 4-0 at half time even. Yeah.
And then there were 2 goals from Angers in
really late,
time added on.
And we did ask Luis Enrique at the end, kind of that stupid question of you lost the second half, didn't you? Because they scored, you lost 2-0 the second half. And Luis Enrique looked at the guy and said, have you ever played football? So the guy is not sure what to say. And Luis goes like really, real football. Have you ever played real football? And the guy's like, no. He goes, oh yeah, okay. I'm not going to answer this stupid question, basically. But yeah, 2 late goals. Not that it mattered. But he gave game time to some of the kids, like Seni Mayulu, who's very good without much being involved on the ball, but he keeps making those very smart runs that just open up space for everybody else, which Luis Enrique loves. And Barcola, our friend Bobby, scored 2 more goals, which he can't do it in the Champions League, which is basically, I think Barcola is just the perfect summary of this season, where they are super dominant in the league and nobody's getting close to them really, and yet clearly not good enough in the Champions League so far.
How concerned are you, Jules, that they might miss out on the playoff spots?
I don't know. I still think that they will squeeze in just about.
Right.
But maybe it's just me being a fan and super optimistic when I shouldn't be. I just think that we don't have to go too deep into data and XG and stats. But there's those games against PSV Eindhoven and against Atletico Madrid where they take 1 point out of 6, where really they were the better team. They should have won those 2 games. You don't take your chances. Sometimes it's because you face a really good goalkeeper, or sometimes just because you are very wasteful and maybe your forwards are just not good enough. But I would be more worried, I think, if they were not winning those games and not playing well and just not creating much. Compared to now where they create. I mean, Achraf Hakimi is one of the best right backs in Europe and in the world, and he's a great player. But some of the decision making in that Atletico game were just horrendous. Like really, really unacceptable almost for somebody that good. You know, when he shoots, when he should cross, and he crosses when he should shoot. It's just like, why are you doing? So I just hope that at some point they will take their chances and the results are going to improve.
Okay, only 1 point off the top 24. So
yeah, still not great when you put it that way.
I find this whole they're in 26th place. It just blows my mind. It's
Blows,
and they're in 31st as well. And it's just like, oh God.
31st is Bologna, actually.
Yeah. Well, who won at the weekend against
Madness.
Roma?
And also probably deserve better for some of the games they've played.
Bologna?
Yeah, absolutely. Even they lost to Monaco.
Go on, let's have some more.
No, they should not. No, but it's true. It's true.
Monaco, meanwhile, up in 3rd spot. And they beat Strasbourg. They beat Liam Rosseigne's Strasbourg this weekend. Brest are up in 4th, and that's just madness. They continued there.
They go to Barcelona the next game.
Do they? Because the last game was a 2-1 win at Sparta Prague.
Yeah, so they've beat the 2 Austrian teams and Sparta Prague. They drew with Bayer Leverkusen at home, which was an amazing result for them.
Yeah.
They're very close to already qualify, at least for the playoffs. But then going to Barcelona would be like a test. But you see typically what we saw even a bit with Brighton last year, you see with those teams who've never played in Europe before, the players don't have experience, is that in the league they're 14th.
Yeah, let's just check. Brest are 12th, actually.
12th, sorry.
But this weekend they lost.
Lopsided.
They lost.
They got battered. Because their heads was clearly still... No, but it's true. Their head was still in the Champions League.
Yeah.
And I think they've lost every single game. I think I said that the other day. Before in the weekend before the week of the Champions League, because clearly their heads were already on the games that they would play in the Champions League, and I think that's what happens.
Okay, 3-1 the defeat this weekend to the bottom of the table side, Montpellier. Have the French public fallen in love with Stade Brestois with their incredible run in?
Yeah. I mean, it's an incredible story, and again, I don't know how long it will last. Because you would expect Barcelona at Montjuic really, even if Lamine is not there or Lewandowski, they still are far too good usually for a Brest team like that. But they just keep surprising everybody, which is great, and that's what we want. For me, they are the fairy tale of this Champions League so far, more than anybody else. Even Sporting, they're coming out of nowhere. They never qualified for anything before. They're not a top team. And yet they're still there.
10 points already, which should be enough to see them into the playoff spots, I think, although nobody really knows.
Opta says 99% chance to qualify for the playoffs if you have 10 points by now.
Okay.
That's a good chance.
It's a good chance, that.
It's a good chance,
Quite high.
99?
Yeah, I'd take
that. Oh, dear. Leon, you mentioned their 1-0 win in the Derby du Rhône against Saint-Etienne. We should talk about Olympique Marseille, latest victims of Auxerre, who beat Rennes 4-0 last week and got their manager fired.
Yeah.
And now they do Marseille 3-1 at the Velodrome.
They were 3-0 up
and
at
De Zerbi saying, well, if I'm the problem, I'm happy to walk out after.
Incredible drama.
And take his overhead projector with him?
Not this time.
Okay.
Incredible the game to start with. To be 3-0 down at halftime at the Velodrome for the second home game in a row after the Classique, obviously, 2 weeks before. But this time against Auxerre was incredible. And Auxerre deserved everything. They played so well on the counter. They just waited, played a low block. Marseille had no idea, no rhythm, just nothing. And they kept being punished on the counter. And then the De Zerbi drama, as you would imagine, happened in the dressing room first, where he said to his players, "You have no balls. You humiliated me tonight. You humiliated your club."
Ooh, how do we know? Was he mic'd up or?
No. I mean, we've heard we all know players who were in that dressing room.
He apparently put up the contract he was offered.
So no,
No, that's
this
not the
was
same day. Yeah, so
this
that will
was
come
back
after,
at the start of the season. Yeah,
but that on Friday night
Yeah.
in the dressing room, because the press conference only happened like an hour after he stayed so long in the dressing room with the players, roasting them. He said to Balerdi, who's his captain, you of all people have the least balls here in this dressing room.
Okay.
He talked about Isoldi and the money. He said, "I'm not here for the money. I've told you that already. You know, I'm here because of what this club represents and how much I love football and my passion for football. And you let me down and you let everybody down, like a proper hairdryer treatment."
From what people have heard, Jules, what was the reaction of the players? Did they feel fair enough, Gaffer?
Yeah,
or was it more like, well?
No, it's still quite early, and I think they know how good he is and can be, and how intense he is. Because then Balerdi came into the mix zone and said, "It's our fault, basically."
Okay.
He didn't say like, he just told me I've got no balls, but he just said like, it's the exact words. It's not the coach's fault. That's it. It's our fault. It's not the coach. Yeah, which I find a little bit. I'm not too on board with that, because I think De Zerbi, as the great manager that he is, should also take some responsibility, which clearly he didn't. He didn't so much, certainly in the dressing room with his players. Then after, when he came to the press conference, he said, "If I'm the problem, I leave." I told the president and Mehdi Benatia, the sporting director, "It's not about money. I leave with nothing." Because clearly they play well away from home, and at home, when people wait for them and hit them on the counter, they have no answer.
That's been a problem for a while, though.
Yeah. But I don't know, maybe it's not something we've seen so much with him before, because I guess the Sassuolo teams would not park the bus against Sassuolo. This is not that kind of team. In England, nobody really parks the bus, even when you play the Zerbi's Brighton. But in France, Auxerre will go and park the bus, and rightly so. And Reims will go and park the bus at the Velodrome. This is what you do when you go to the Parc des Princes or the Velodrome or at Lyon, or against those big clubs in Monaco. So he should have maybe be prepared. But yeah, just incredible. And what I find the best thing maybe is, because he doesn't speak French and everything is in Italian, he has a translator. So imagine him shouting, and then the translator next to him, I guess, have to be in the role as well, and probably shouts too in French to translate what is. I don't know. I would have loved to be there in that dressing room.
Boy, that would be a sight.
Come to Roma, Roberto.
Yeah.
Yeah. But James is right to tell this story that L'Equipe and my friend Mathieu Grégoire wrote before his first game against Brest, where they smashed Brest away, the opening game of the season, where he, in his pre-match team talk, to, I guess, galvanize everybody, he also showed the contract offer that United made to him.
He got a projector.
Yeah.
He projected an image, a blurred image of the contract that he'd been offered, he said, by Manchester United.
So everything was blurred, like all the amounts and everything, apart from the United logo and the United name, basically.
Okay.
To show, look, I turned them down for you here to come to Marseille because I wanted the passion, I wanted this. It was not about money, and United were all about money, I guess that's what he meant. And look, I'm here now for you guys. We're all here in the same boat. And then they go and that worked, because they smashed Brest. They were like 3-0 up after 15 minutes or something crazy like that.
Right. I don't know. I wonder if that would work in terms of motivating players to say, look.
I don't know. I personally, I don't think you should.
Three names in these envelopes that will let me down.
But also, I don't think you should disclose things, even if you blur everything. I just don't think it's very professional to do that.
That seems strange, doesn't it?
Very strange. And if you thought De Zerbi was mad, and you thought it's okay to have one mad manager in Liga 1, then wait for El Pelado.
What's happened now?
El Pelado.
Is that Jimbo?
It's
El Pelado.
The board, yeah. Jorge Sampaoli.
Yes.
The older version of you a bit.
Is he? That's confirmed now, is it?
It's confirmed, yeah.
Woof.
He's been announced last night, and he will be presented to the press today, on Tuesday. Very excited to be back in France, a country that he loves. He keeps saying. He understands the language, doesn't speak it yet. So what could go wrong? And they're like 13 in the table. They're a disaster. They've lost 6 in 11. They don't play well. They've lost all confidence. They've got really good players, really good squads. It's
this
just not happening
Rennes,
for Rennes.
as you mentioned, Auxerre. Thanks, by the way, for not correcting my pronunciation earlier. You're so polite. It's Auxerre. Then I always say Auxerre.
No, it's good as well. It was quite sexy the way you said it.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah, very sexy.
Auxerre.
But as you know,
But anyway,
Rennes,
so the similarly sexy Jorge Sampaoli is now their manager.
he looks even... So he's 64.
Not Auxerre, but Rennes.
Oh, Rennes,
Sorry,
yeah.
listen, I know you know this. I'm catching up with you. Right.
He looks... So he's 64 now.
Woof.
Yeah, he looks... He hasn't coached for a year.
All right.
He obviously left Marseille, if you remember. He had 18 really good months in Marseille and then left because he didn't feel they were ready to invest to try to compete with PSG. Fair enough. He looks like he's gone to the gym a lot.
Yeah.
He looks super fit.
Buff?
He looks like his face has gone through a bit of work, let's put it that way. But everybody's very excited. And when you think that Rennes is owned by the Pinot family, one of the richest families.
Salma Hayek's husband.
Salma Hayek's husband, François
Pinot.
So François Pinot is the dad and François Xavier is the son,
Right.
who is married to Salma Hayek. One of the richest, most classiest family. And Sampaoli, like, you know, Sampaoli, he fights people. This is what he does. He's like full of...
He looks like a bouncer.
Yeah, adrenaline and hormones and all that kind of stuff. You just can't marry the Pinot family and Salma Hayek. I guess they can speak Spanish together. And Sampaoli, so it's going to be great. Again, what could go wrong? I don't know, but I'm all in for the Sampaoli ride because he's going to be special.
Is that a team that he can take places? Is there the raw materials there for him to...
Yeah. They've got a great squad. They've got everything. It just didn't happen before with Julien Stéphan. I don't really know why. They've dropped points late. They lack a bit of character and leadership that I think he can bring. And they need a boost, and I think he will provide that. And again, it's no wonder that you also sack those managers or you get new people in, whether it's Amorim, Sampaoli, whoever comes at Roma at the start of this international break. Rennes have, I think, 10 players away in international duty, but still, you come in and you can already start working, be ready for 2 weeks' time when you have your first league game. So
Away at Lille.
Yeah, and Pep Genesio, obviously, former Rennes manager.
Pep against Sampaoli.
That's going to be good, man. So, yeah, I'm all for Sampaoli's return to France.
Excellent. Very nice, Jules. Let's finish off today's show with a trip to Germany. Seb Stafford Bloor with the Bundesliga. All right, Seb Stafford Bloor joins us now with the Bundesliga latest. And Seb, first off, hello. And secondly, what a great weekend for FC Bayern.
Really good. They didn't actually play that well against St. Pauli, but they got the 1-0 win. Brilliant goal from Jamal Musiala. His first goal from outside the box all season. Just fantastic. If you haven't seen it, it's one of those which just moves all over the place. And, great sympathy for Pauli keeper Nico Vasil. Pauli played pretty well. But the really good news for Bayern is that, again, Leverkusen dropped points. Did we see this one? Jimbo, did you see that?
I've seen the goals. This is Bochum now under the tutelage of Dieter Hecking. And lo and behold, they go and tie with the champions 1-1 at the weekend. Woof.
Yeah, Dieter Hecking, who's now 60 years old, and he had a season at Nuremberg in 2023, but hadn't really been a coach for a couple of years. Best moment really in German football was probably taking Wolfsburg to the Pokal in 2015. Really lovely Wolfsburg team with Kevin De Bruyne in there. This was, I suppose, the way to look at it is Bochum haven't won a point in the Bundesliga since September against Holstein Kiel. And this was, again, Leverkusen going one up, wasting a lot of chances, playing some pretty, I don't know, not sloppy, but lacking the intensity in their football that they had last season, and conceding a goal right at the end, which I don't know. It's really hard to kind of to separate the technical deficiencies in this Leverkusen side from what was an inevitable result of winning the title and the Pokal last season undefeated. You're going to have a drop off, and yet these tiny little moments, ironically, which they used to capitalize on a year ago, their opponents are, and this was another hugely sloppy goal to concede. If you watch it and you see what Alex Grimaldo's failure to react to a loose ball rammed in at the near post, it's quite worrying. I think a couple of weeks ago you could attribute it to saying, right, this is just a regression. This is This is a result of not getting the bounce of the ball. Their defensive record, Jimbo, is absolutely awful. And with the greatest respect to Dieter Hecking and Bochum, so are they. They can't beat anybody. And yeah, I'm not quite sure where they go from here, because we're almost to the point where we're starting to reassess where some of these, not where these careers are going, but just quite how good some of these players are at the moment and how much progress they have before they make the kind of the step up to destination clubs in the future. So yeah, great weekend for Bayern. It does almost feel as if the title race is not over, but heading in that direction.
Wow. Bayer Leverkusen, who were also beaten, of course, 4-0 last week at Anfield in the Champions League, are now 9 points back from Bayern Munich. Borussia Dortmund are 10 points back. They lost 3-1 at Mainz. The closest rivals to Vincent Kompany's side are RB Leipzig, who are now 5 points behind. They got held at home by Borussia Mönchengladbach.
Yeah, Leipzig have had a difficult old time this week, last week even. And there's this nagging suspicion. We talked before about how much can you really trust Marco Rosa's side. I think one of the problems they have is this lack of attacking connectivity, which blights them at really, really inopportune moments. And happened against Dortmund when they got beaten 2-1 despite taking the lead. And this, like, Gladbach are not a bad side. They are improving. They're awkward to play against because of Kleindienst up front. Kevin Stoger's a very, very good player. Rocker Wright's in midfield. But this is a team you really should be able to cut through if you're a title contender. And there's just this absence of chemistry in the right places at the right times. And it's not just because Javi Simons is missing and will be gone until 2025, probably at the early January at the earliest, probably for his return. It's just it's a failure to maintain a certain standard. Now, if you think back to kind of Leverkusen last season, but Bayern's years of dominance, very rarely did you see anything other than, or anything less than, a sort of 7 out of 10 performance, even against teams that they knew they were going to beat. Leverkusen were the same. This Leipzig side tend to go between about a 9 out of 10 and a 5, and that's got to change. And it's hard to see how it will if you're dependent on young players whose form is, by nature quite volatile. And this was a really, really poor performance, and they've run out of steam a little bit, Jimbo.
Seb, sounds like you're saying Marco Rosa out.
I am saying Marco Rosa out ? I suppose.
Wow.
No, I just think I don't think it's even a coaching problem. I think it's just what happens if you employ that strategy. If your idea is to nurture the careers of young players and suffer their peaks and troughs and guide them through moments in which they learn, this is what's going to happen. Can you build a title-winning team out of a squad with that kind of profile? I don't know, Jimbo.
Big questions. Perhaps questions that Jurgen Klopp will be addressing over the international break. Who knows? Meantime, are there question marks hovering over the bench at Borussia Dortmund after that 3-1 defeat for Nuri Sahin's side away at Mainz at the weekend? They're off to their joint worst start to a season in a decade.
Yeah, this is really, really poor. I think Nuri Sahin's in a sort of situation where, I think there's a sort of semi-permanent state of pressure here because he has so much to prove, and so far nobody's hugely convinced. I think the loss to Mainz is more about Emre Can's red card. So obviously Dortmund end up losing this game 3-1. Started quite well in the opening 20 minutes. Can, who the main criticism around him is always tries to do too much. Tries to be too much of an influence in too many parts of the game, doesn't know his limitations. Sometimes his overexuberance gets the better of him. And if there was ever an example of that, it was here. So a terrible, terrible lunge right on the edge of his own box, but with defensive support, which meant that the challenge was hugely unnecessary. No need to make it. Lunges in, two-footed, late, high. It's a red card. And quite tellingly, Sahin was not damning, but openly critical of Can, who accepted his mistake. And Julian Brandt said afterwards that they'd spoken to him in the dressing room and he was kind of gutted. He was really disappointed, knew he'd let everyone down. And Sahin said, yeah, you just can't make this kind of tackle. And all the same Dortmund problems were there afterwards. Terrible defending for all 3 goals, really. I mean, Felix Lemaitre has just been called back up to the German national team, but he will not want to see the first goal again here, where a bad defensive clearance allows the ball to come back into the box. Then is out of position, can't affect the header. So really, really ugly moment for him. But these are problems which have plagued Dortmund for not just weeks or months, years. Defensive errors, individual miscommunications, inability of midfielders to protect defenders. Like these things, they're going to take a very long time to cure. And so I think, whilst there is a lot of work for Shaheen to do to convince anybody that he belongs at a club of this size with his level of coaching experience, there's also this sense that, he's not a savior. At the very best, he's not going to be the guy that changes what has been a kind of half-decade long pattern in the space of 3 months. So I don't think we're going to go result to result with his future just yet.
I see. In the meantime, he can point to Borussia Dortmund's record in the Champions League, which currently has them 7th in the automatic qualifying positions. Another of those sides with a huge dichotomy between their European and league performances. So what you're saying is 5 points between Bayern, who are off to their joint best start for a new manager ever, 26 points from first 10 matches for Vincent Kompany. That's level with Pep Guardiola and Branko Zebec in days of yore.
Yeah.
So 5 points between them and everybody else. None of the other teams are doing particularly well. It looks a bit done and dusted.
It does, but I know how much you enjoy talking about Omar Mamouche and
yes,
how much
what a goal.
What a free kick, right?
What a free kick, yeah.
Mamouche is in that territory, Jimbo, at the moment where every week he shows you something slightly different. And he's got like set pieces in his repertoire, but I don't think anybody thought he had set pieces from that distance in his repertoire. It's just a really pure, beautiful strike. Alex Newell, absolutely no chance. That, one of the games of the weekend. So if you didn't see it, Stuttgart started pretty well, missed a penalty, goal ruled out for offside, but Eintracht weathered that and went 3-0 up, at which point, in sort of 86 minutes, cruising to a victory, really good win away from home for Dino Topmüller. Really nice header from Hugo Ekitike, Mamouche's free kick we've talked about as well. And then goodness knows what happened. Basically, the long and short of it is that had it not been for a 99th minute VAR intervention, Stuttgart would have climbed all the way back to 3-3. But as it was, Chris Furyk had a goal ruled out for about maybe half a yard offside. It's one of those kind of modern UEFA offsides, which back in the day,
half a yard's quite a lot, Seb.
It is, but because of the way that, because of how quickly the move developed, it's one of those where 10 years ago, if you'd seen it and you'd noticed the offside, you'd have kind of been okay with it standing because I can't expect a linesman to see that in real time. But VAR sees everything, unfortunately. So 3-2. So a really good win for Eintracht, but strangely with a lot of doubts as well, and nothing which convinced you that they're really capable of contending either, or that anybody really is with Bayern this season at the moment.
Crikey, Eintracht Frankfurt moving up to third spot, just a point behind RB Leipzig. Seb, magnificent stuff. Who've Germany got over the international break?
They're going to play Bosnia first,
yes.
Which is going to be interesting one. Seeing Leroy Sané called back to the international side. Julian Brandt is back in there, so a little bit of a Dortmund rebirth. So yeah, interesting times. Disappointed to see Johnny Burkhardt. Mine says Johnny Burkhardt left out. That disappointed me, but let's see. My father is also calling me on my computer as well, and that's another disappointment.
All right.
Sorry about that.
There you go, Seb. Life is full of
Thanks,
disappointments,
guys.
and anyone who says different is selling something. Paraphrase a great film. On that thought, we salute you, Seb. And that's it for today's Totally Football Show. Listener, well done for making it this far.
We haven't got a show next week, have we?
Well, there you go, yeah.
Such
Fill
a
your
shame.
boots on this one.
So many things to say. There will be so many things.
Hey, well, why don't you drop into our regular...
Yeah? You say that every time and you never invite me. So
Really? What are you doing next Monday, Jules?
I don't know. I'm on here to talk about Italy-France.
Oh, yeah?
With James.
Well,
Magnifique.
am I here?
Are you there, listener?
Actually, no, yeah.
Are we,
on
is
Tuesday.
any of us, etc. and so on. Anyway, yeah. Check local listings for details, but we will have a show after the international break. Just not a Euro show per se, but we'll be talking about all the international action. Of course, Thursday we're back with a talk about pretty much anything we want because no club football, some internationals. Do join us for that. For now, it's many, many thanks to Seb and to Paul and to Jules and James and to Liam and Lucy in the booth and above all, you listener. Have a great international break and we'll catch up with you soon on the Totally Football Show. The Totally Football Show podcast is available 3 times a week, bringing you all the football news you could reasonably be expected to care about. We've got views, we've got stats, we've got analysis, we've got some of the best football writers around, and the whole thing is absolutely free. So have a listen on Spotify or Apple Podcasts or all the usual places by clicking on the link below.